Good day, Professor Breaker here with New Mexico State University. In this video, we'll be going over Chapter 6. This is a Chapter 6 review of the Python crash course. This chapter, we're going to be talking about dictionaries, and so let's do a little introduction to dictionaries. So in the Chapter 6, we're covering dictionaries. There are dictionaries or similar data objects, data structures, in other languages. So in Java, you've got the hash map. In PHP, it's called associative array. In a C++, it's associative array. And in Python, it's called a dictionary. Basically, it's a relationship of one item to another. And so we'll take a look at more of that. It's similar to a list, except for in a list, you have basically an index number, 0 through whatever, 1 less than the number of the list. In a dictionary, you're actually using a value as the key. So it is considered a key value pair. A list has an enumerator value pair. A dictionary has a key value pair. And we'll take a look at what that means here. So here's a simple way to create a list. In this list, we have string dictionary. The key is Java, the value is hash map. The key is PHP, the value is associative array. The key is C++, the value is associative array. The key is Python, the value is dictionary. When we're declaring a dictionary, we can declare an empty dictionary with a str dictionary equals, and we use the brackets. With a list, we would use the square brackets. With a dictionary, we use curly brackets. With a tuple, we use the parentheses. But again, once you declare a tuple, you can't add values to it. So typically in a tuple, you'll have values in it. But with the dictionary, we use curly brackets. So if you're looking at code and you see an assignment of curly brackets, it's typically a dictionary. So let's talk about some key terms here. Keys. Keys are basically the index for the dictionary item. Values, that's the information contained in the dictionary item. So there's key value. Now the value can be another dictionary. It can be any object. So it can be a string, an integer, a float, a Boolean, or it can be another list, or it could be a dictionary, or it could be a tuple. Again, the key is a reference to the item in the dictionary. The item in the dictionary, the value can be any kind of object. Item is basically, when we talk about an item, it's a key value pair. And you'll see this when we get working through that. The items are the key value pairs in a dictionary. We can insert, and basically you're not using an insert statement. We don't use an insert statement. You can modify it by changing the value of the item or element in the dictionary. You can use the del method to remove the dictionary, and you can use a pop, but you have to reference the item. You just can't use pop on a dictionary. It won't just grab the last item. You actually have to reference it, but pop will work on a dictionary. Okay, so here's the dictionary items, keys, and values. So there's three terms to use here: items, keys, and values. So here's a dictionary, and it's basically hat, cheese, shirt, gold, belt, brown, pants, green. Now, if you know, anytime you see hat, cheese, think of Green Bay Packers. They got the cheese hats, right? I'm from Wisconsin originally, so I'm going to jump with this Green Bay Packer theme. So this is the pair: the hat, cheese, shirt, gold, belt, brown, pants, green. So we got our green and gold. And then we can just print them. Okay, so let's take a look and see what that looks like here. So we've got this dictionary item right here, and if we go to print it, it'll print out basically the hat, cheese, shirt, gold, belt, brown, pants, green. Okay, so we're printing out the dictionary items. Now if we want, we can just print out the dictionary keys. Let's go back to our PowerPoint here. If we want, we can just print out the keys. The keys are just going to be the first values of that associated pair. So the keys are going to be the hat, the shirt, the belt, and the pants. Okay. And then we have the values associated with them. So we can just print out the values using the values function. Again, these are functions that are tied directly to the object type. A dictionary has functions tied to that class, to that object. And so the keys and the values are both functions that are tied into this data type. And so if we type in the values, it's going to say cheese, gold, brown, and green. Okay, so you can see the keys, the values, and the items includes both of them. If we want to print them out with a simple for statement, we can use the items to grab the keys and the values and say print the blank, A, which would be the key, was the color B, which is the value. And sure enough, we have hat was cheese, shirt is gold, belt is brown, pants are green. Okay, so keys, values, items refer to each individual element pair, and we can pick the keys or the values or the items based on our functions. So what are some errors that we can get when using a dictionary? And this is something I wanted to bring up. The book did a great job of talking about dictionaries and all the things that are in it. So if you haven't read Chapter 6, make sure you read it maybe twice. I know I typically read a chapter twice. The first time I kind of breeze through it, the second time I go through it, and that's when I do the actual individual items in it and play with it that way. So let's take a look at this one here. Here's a simple dictionary. We did that already. Let's go to this one. So what I'm doing here first is I'm opening up a file. So let me go ahead and remove some of this stuff. And I am opening up a file called autos.temp. And let's take a look at what is in this file. Now, Python, we're not actually going to be covering files till chapter 10, but we can play with it a little bit. Python makes it really easy. I don't know if you've had Java and you've opened up a file, you have to create a scanner object, all this stuff. For Python, this is it. You're opening the file in read mode. This is read only. We could open up to write too, but this is read mode here. So I could say for a in, auto, and we could run that, and we can see what's in that file, and here's what that basically is in that file, and we can actually look at that file using Notepad++. We've got, let's go and file open. I think I have an autos.txt file here. Nope, I don't. All right, so that's what the file looks like. Simple, basically make, model. And so we can take that and say, well, it'd be really nice to make a dictionary where we had the make as the key and the model as the value. And we can do that. So we would go through, and the easiest way to do this, and I'm going to do this step by step so we can see what's going on. And that is, the first thing we want to do is we're going to put the, we already have this here. We're going to take the information, take all these things, and we're going to put them into a list, but we want to split it because we know that it has the make first and the model. And so here's the make Chevy and then Chevy Malibu. Well, if we do just a split, we know that it'll split on all the spaces and make an array or a list with 3 values. We really just want 2, the make and the model. And so what we're going to do is we're going to split this on the first space, which would be right here. We're going to split it on the first space, only the first space. So we're only going to do one split, and we're going to append this to an auto list. So we need to create our auto list. So let's go ahead and say, let's go make an auto list. Okay, so there's our auto list. We create it. Now we can append to it. And we're going to append every value. And basically, we're going to put everything here into everything from the file into the list. So let's go ahead and run that. And we see that we have 307 records in the list. And if we wanted to print the list out, we can do that. And so we have make model. And so what we've done is we've split this list up. It was just text. We've actually put it into a list, create a list of lists. And so we've got a nested list. So each list has two values or two items, which would be perfect for a, key value. So we notice we have a /n on there. Let's go ahead and do one more thing. We're splitting it, but let's go ahead and take the auto list and for A in auto file, append A instead of a dot split. Let's do A dot replace, and we're going to replace that /n on the end with a just empty string. Now it allows us to do this. We can keep adding multiple functions, and it's going to work this, from left to right. So it's going to take A, it's going to replace that, and then it's going to split it. So let's go ahead and run that. We should see that. Yeah, there we go. Our carriage return at the end, our new line character got removed. Again, when you throw things in a file, it has a new line character. When you read it in, it's going to include that new line character, and we don't really want a new line character in there. So we're going ahead and remove that. So now we've got this, we're printing our list. So instead of printing it, let's go ahead and add it to our an auto dictionary. Let's add it into a dictionary. So we're going to create an auto dictionary. And we're just going to leave it blank for now. But what we're going to do is we're going to add in the key value pair. Okay, so this is where it's going to get a little bit fun. And I want you to try to follow along here. So we know if I print, let's go and let's skip this here. Let's say, let's print R, actually for R, let's put a 0 in here. Okay, let's print that. And if we print R0, what is 0? It's the first item in our list. And so remember we had let's go ahead and remove that. Let's look at that again. We have a list of lists. So there's each one of these is the list. If we put R0, it's going to print the first item in our list. And if we change that to a 1, it's going to print the second item in our list. Nice. So if we want to have the first item, 0, being our key, we can refer to R0 in here. So let's go ahead and do auto dictionary. And then we give it a key. And in this case, the key is going to be R0. And we're just going to set that equal to okay. So now this is going to be our key. This is our value. This is how we append. There's no dot append. We don't have to do the dictionary dot append. We just basically say this key has this value. Okay. We can skip the printing right now. And then we can print out our dictionary. And actually, let's do this. We saw before, again, we're doing a simple dictionary. If we do the AB and the dictionary.items, so let's go ahead and use that here for D and, well, let's do model and, let's say we'll model and make, so we'll do M, kind of K, model and make, and auto dictionary.items. Again, it's a function of the dictionary, so we have to add the brackets on there. Print. And let's do a bracket, do M for the make. And we want to give it, let's give it 15 spaces. And we want to print the model, which is going to be K, or the make, the model and make. Oh, we have it backwards. Oh well. We'll just leave it that way. All right, let's find out if I made any mistakes on this. And sure enough, there we go. We have the make and the model. Okay, now this print length of auto list, we know there was 307 items in the list of autos. We seem to be short a few. That doesn't look like 307 items. So when we read in from the file, we had 307 items here, and I suppose if I run down here, we can probably see there is probably close to 307. Yes, 307 records. Now the first record is make and model, so we really can't count the first record. But there's 306 automobiles, and we're only getting, well, let's find out. Print the length of the auto dictionary. And we can see that we're getting 38 records. So we took our 306 or 307 because we still have the make and model here, and we've got it down to 38. Wow, that doesn't really bode well for us because we're losing a lot of data. Yeah, let's put that out here. Should give us the same thing, but it gives us, we're losing a lot of data. We're losing a bunch of records. What's happening? Why was it doing that? So raise your hand if you can tell me why it's doing that, why we're losing all these records. We went from 307 records down to 38. Well, maybe, maybe we could switch this. Instead of make and model, we could switch this to model and make. Let's go ahead and use the model as the key and the make as the value. Okay? We're just switching this here. And let's run this. Well, now we've got the model as the key and the make as the value. Well, hey, much better. We're at 301. We've only lost 6 records. But we've still lost 6 records. So you can see for this set of data, maybe a dictionary isn't the best way to do this. Maybe just leaving it as a nested list, where it's a list and a list. And going with that would be better because we're losing data. Now, if we look here, we can see clearly why, because we have Ford. And the one thing about the dictionary is the key has to be unique. You can't have 2 keys named Ford because when you're referencing it as a key, and we'll change that back to 0 and 1 here. When you're referencing the key here as Chevrolet, it's going to take and it's going to add Chevrolet and it's going to add the first value it comes to for Chevrolet. And it adds that, appends that to the list. After that, when it runs into Chevrolet, it's going to overwrite the current value and it's reassigning a new value to it. And so we really just have the last vehicle by these manufacturers in the list. Now, fortunately, somebody spelled Chevrolet wrong, so we get a Chevy Malibu and we get a Chevrolet Camaro. But you can see how this is not a good use of a dictionary. But we can make good use of this. Instead of using the dictionary to read the make and the model, we may want to look at this and say, maybe we could count. Let's find out how many Chevrolets there are in this list. So let's think about that a little bit. Our dictionary, we want to do a count of the number of vehicles made by Chevrolet. So let's go ahead and redo this. We're not going to assign this dictionary this way, but maybe we want to do a check and see if the vehicles in the list, we're going to implement it by one. If it's not in the list, we're going to add it to the list. And I'm going to do it that way. So that we're going to check here. So let's do this. We're going to say if, let's say dictionary R0, which we know is going to be the make. If nope, let's do this correctly. If R0 is in the auto.keys. So we're going to test if the make, if Chevrolet is already in the keys, then we're going to say that auto dictionary R0 plus equals 1. Else okay, so what's going to happen is, since the auto dictionary, since these will only have a unique value, we're going to check and see if this make is in there already. Then we're going to give it a number. The number if it's not in there, we're going to give it the number 1 and assign it the value of 1. If it is in there, we're going to increment it by 1. So what this is going to do is count how many of each of these there is. So let's go ahead and run this here. And there we go. We've got, there is 25 Chevrolets, 14 Buicks, 25 Plymouths, 15 AMCs. How many Chevrolets? The misspelled one. There's only one misspelled Chevrolet. And if we wanted to, we can actually print one more thing out. Let's go ahead and back and do this. Let's print, and we're going to print the sum of the auto dictionary.keys, because we know that's a number, so we can actually sum that. And let's go ahead and run this, and that should come out to an error. I did not spell it correctly. That would make sense. Let's go ahead and run that, and that should come out to 307. Auto dictionary.keys. Am I doing something correctly here? The sum of auto dictionary.keys. You know what, let's do it this way. Let's do the F, and I'm going to do the word total. And space, and then we're going to go ahead and use our bracket to make sure we convert this to a string for us. I think that's a type error that we're getting, because this would be a integer, and we're going to do our type, and let's set it to be 20. Give it a, actually let's do maybe 15 or 12. Let's try 12. That should convert it to a string for us. And we're getting an app wrong. Let's see, what do we have wrong here? Sum of auto dictionary.keys. Oh, this is what's wrong. Let me go back and look at my notes here. Sure that runs correctly. We're not getting errors. And then we should be able to print the sum of the keys. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought the values. That would explain it. We run that and we get the 307. So we can actually add the add in here a total. Helps if you get the right information. And we'll do 12. That gives it 12 spaces to line our columns up. And we're so close. Did we do a mistake in our... we didn't put a closing apostrophe. All right, so there we go. So we've got a total of 307. So there's our, and that matches our number of records. Okay, so we're going total 307, and our number of records is the 307. So that's good. Now we'd like to remove that make from there, and we can do that too. We could remove the make, and so the way we do that, instead of R in auto list, we could change this to for I. In auto list, in range, and it's going to make it a little more difficult, but we would do the for I in range. And we want to start with 1 and then to the length of the auto list. Now I is going to have a numeric number, so now we're going to have to change this R to be auto list. And then we would have to change that to I. And if that's in dictionary keys, then we would say, and then again, we're going to have to change this auto list, this R to auto list I 0. Okay, and this is really what we have when we have a multi-dimensional array. And so that's really what we've got here is a multi-dimensional array in that list. We have a list that has lists within inside of it, so we can refer to I0 and I1. So in this case, we're just referring to I0. We're checking for the I0. Let's see, am I missing something here? I think we're good. No, I have a wrong bracket there. Let's run that. See if that should work in my book. I haven't echo yet. Yep, we do need an extra bracket there. Okay, so that did work. So if you want to look at this, let's break this down just a little bit. This auto list I, again, for I in range, and this time we're using the index number of each one of those records in the list. And because we're using the index number, we have to refer to it by this. And then we're saying this is the outside, basically the list, the vertical list. And then this is the reference to the first value on that horizontal list. Okay, so let me throw this out here a second. I'm going to okay, so, and we'll have an error there. And we'll be able to see here that we've got this list, make, model, make, model, make, model. So this list, this vertical list is the first list. The horizontal list is the second list. So this first one's referring to the vertical list, the first record, second record, third record. The 0, the second one, is referring to this horizontal list. So this becomes the make. So hopefully that's clear for you. These are called nested lists, and we can use them with a dictionary and pass that value to a dictionary to use it for great things like counting. So let's talk about some more uses for this. As you can see, I'm using this for data analysis to see how many cars are made by this manufacturer. I had a program one time. I actually had worked for the Department of Defense. They sent us a list of IP addresses that we had to pull our firewall logs and see if any of the IP addresses in our firewall logs were on this list of malicious IP addresses. Malicious actors, the IP addresses that were, and so they wanted to find out if anybody in our environment, because we were running a lot of research, if anybody in this research environment was contacting and communicating with these actors on these IP addresses that they know were rogue and bad actors. So every day I would pull the firewall logs and I would read in all the IP addresses, and I would do exactly this. I would read all the IP addresses in, and I would have a number. I used a Python dictionary and counted the number of times the particular IP addresses was accessed. And then once I had this count, then I actually went and took and cross-referenced these keys against the list that I received from the Department of Defense. And so we had, I think, 2 hits. In the 2 years that I was there, we had 2 hits, and there was like 2 packets. So we would go into there and we'd find out who was communicating with it, and we would check their computer. But this is a great use of dictionaries because you can really count. And when you're doing data analysis, whether you're checking logs, whether you're checking records, or you're checking temperatures, you want to say what time of the day did temperatures happen, things like that. This is good for data analytics. Hopefully this has helped. I have some more fun we can do, and I'm going to actually jump into this one here. And this is another file, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but this is another file. You can pause the video and take a look at this code. This code here basically is doing another set of nested dictionaries. So the last one was nested list, and we used the nested list to create a dictionary that counted values. This is a little bit different. This is a nested list that takes the ID and uses the ID as the key, and then takes all the rest of the information and puts it into a dictionary for each user. And so we have given name and the value, surname and the value. So we're using the first row of the column, and we're assigning it to, we're giving it a given name value. So given name Catherine, surname Kellogg, and it's doing this for every single record in this dictionary. So again, given name Ronald, surname Torian. This is just a random name of fake people, supposedly. I've never been to any of these towns. It's a list we can use for different data testing. But here's so basically I'm opening up the file. I'm turning that file into a list, and again, I'm doing the split, I'm doing the replace to get rid of the N. I'm actually doing another replace to get rid of the quotes because there's a whole bunch of quotes in that list. And then I'm creating a dictionary, and for each name in the dictionary, I'm learning through, and I'm creating a temporary dictionary. And then I'm doing this nested for loop, and in this nested for loop, I'm running through each value and pulling out given name. So given name is always 0, line 0. The first line is the first column, first line, first row is all the labels. So those are my keys in that inside list or inside dictionary. Those are my keys. And then I assign the values. And so you can take a look at this, pause this, look it over, and if you want to try it, I can give you the access to the fake names.csv file. We'll make that available on the website for Chapter 6. Hope you found this interesting. So we went from, crawl, walk, run on dictionaries, basically simple things you can do with dictionaries, the values. We went to a little more fancy stuff, opening a file, reading it, looking at it different ways with the reading it in and reading that information into a dictionary, showing that you really have to make sure that your data has a unique value. If it doesn't have a unique value, it will overwrite values. And then we stepped into and used it for data analytics. We did some data analytics to see how many of each car, how many cars each manufacturer made. And then we looked into how we could do nested dictionaries. We have a dictionary. In this dictionary, here's the key, here's the value. Here's the key, here's the value. And in each one of these cases, the value is another internal dictionary that has key value pairs. So we have a nested dictionary here with keys and values. Hopefully you found this interesting. Make sure I go through the rest of my slides here in case there was anything I missed. We talked about errors. We talked about using dictionaries for data analysis. We talked about nested dictionaries. If there's any questions, feel free to give me a call or contact me through Canvas, and I look forward to working with you on this.